In this training, you'll witness a full discovery. With one of my students, Chris, I am going to be the closer, and I'm going to close Chris using the sales methodology, scriptless selling, that allowed me to earn over $100,000 per month in commissions as a salesperson. You'll be able to identify the things that are missing in your sales calls, in your sales discoveries that are keeping you from making the money that you truly want to be making in sales. So without any further ado, let's crack in. So in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge that you're having in your fitness right now?
Biggest challenge now is I've been in shape all my life. I'm in my mid 40s now, so I just don't feel like I have the drive that I used to, and I'm not able to put the muscle on that I used to. And I used to be able to eat and work out on the weekend and have my six pack again. So my body is reacting in different ways. And I just don't know how to get back to my old self.
Okay. So it sounds like the big thing as far as your old self is muscle. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's muscle, it's the abs, it's walking into a room and people know that I work out, and I'm not getting those comments anymore. And it's showing me that I'm not that old person.
Okay. What is it showing you?
It's showing me that for some reason I'm not able to get back to where I was, like with my old tricks, my old workouts. And that's kind of been what I've been known for all my life. And it's a funny gym rats who work out. There's this choice between like looking big in your shirt or looking lean with your shirt off.
Yep.
And I was kind of the perfect middle ground there. And um, I don't get those comments anymore.
So it sounds like the biggest thing is that now you're in your 40s and you've got less drive. The result of that is you don't have as much of a muscular physique that is getting compliments, getting you noticed when you walk into a room. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. So what is your physique looking like right now in terms of muscle in your opinion?
I categorize civilian body versus gym rat body. For a
Okay.
civilian, I'm in great shape, but it's not all my shirts show off. I have certain shirts that if I wear, I get compliments, and I'm wearing those shirts and I don't get it anymore. Yeah, so that's kind of the difference. For a civilian, I'm in great shape. For somebody who's a gym rat, we'll kind of make fun of each other, my buddies and I, about our bodies.
Okay. So some of your buddies make fun of you and the other people, are they giving you compliments or are they not giving you compliments? Like other civilians, are they giving you compliments?
I still get compliments when I take my leather jacket off and certain shirts, but I just don't feel that presence that I usually have when I walk into a room, even just normal day-to-day life.
Okay. So when you used to walk into a room, when you had this muscular physique that you had before, how often did you feel that you had a presence that got noticed or recognized in the past?
Uh, Pretty much every single time.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what about now? If you said in the last week, when you've walked into a room, you've gone down to the grocery shop or wherever you go, how many times, if you were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I get recognized all the time and I get compliments all the time like I did in the past, and 0 being it never happened in the last week, where would you put that right now?
I would put it at a 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more than half the time, you still get a compliment.
While I'm wearing certain clothes, yes.
And how often do you
Other clo
choose the right clothing then?
Maybe half the time.
Okay. So half the time you wear clothes that you get a compliment in, half the time you don't. Why not just wear the clothes that you get complimented in all the time and then that would fix your problem?
I do like style and dressing up and fashion. And so part of the fashion is there's gonna be certain clothes that might not have that form fitting.
Okay.
My friends and I, we like to go out to dinner a lot. We're usually the best dressed people when we go out. And so sometimes I have to sacrifice those compliments for looking good in clothes.
Okay, so in the past you could wear basically anything and you would get a compliment, whereas now you're having to choose, do I go for fashion or do I go for a compliment? And you basically, well, obviously you want a compliment for both. You want a compliment for your fashion and your
Yeah.
physique, but you feel that you're
Yeah.
having to choose one or the other, and that kind of sacrifices sounds like that's what's bothering you. Is that accurate?
It's actually pretty accurate. It's a double-edged sword. I look great in certain shirts, but then it's okay. I remember I took my leather jacket off, and this happened literally 2 days in Napa. Put my jacket on a woman. She was like, "Oh, you looks like you kind of work out." Like, oh shit. That stung a little because usually I would get compliments on, "Wow, like what do you do? Do you work out? Can you flex?" That's a common one I would get to as well. And it's not just the compliment, but it's I feel like I'm just not doing the workouts that I used to. And so almost feels like an athlete, near the end of his career. I feel like I need to reignite something because it's
Mm.
also a feeling too as well. I feel my best when my body feels my best.
Can I ask you a specific question on that? Do you feel your best when your body feels the best, or do you feel your best when other people notice that your body is its best?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. It definitely is both because they're noticing the body, but they're also noticing my vibe and how I carry myself. And when I feel strong, I feel like I have more of a vibe that's a little bit more confident. I would say it's a little bit of both, but I'm not going to turn down a compliment for sure.
And how do you feel about your strength right now?
It's still good for a civilian, but it's not the standard I've been used to all my life.
Okay.
I've always been the guy who's been in the best shape with all my friends. We would actually do body fat challenges, and I always win. And I just don't win by a small margin. Like I wreck the field,
Mm.
and now it's that's not happening. I'm still winning, but it's not there as far as it used to be.
Okay, so it sounds like the biggest thing is that whilst a lot of people would maybe be very happy with where you're at in terms of strength for your age, how you look, your fashion, you have these standards that are severely higher than the average civilian, should we call it. Your standard is you want to win big, you want to win way ahead of everyone else, and you want to win every time. And compared to that standard, you, in your words, you're like, am I near the end? Am I the person I used to be? And it's kind of having this like identity crisis on you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I actually was on a date recently, and she was like, "All right, that's I love how your how your arms look in that white shirt." And then I was like, "All right, they used to look way better." So there is a certain level of I don't know perfectionism when it comes
Yep.
to that
Yep.
going on.
You mentioned your dating life and you mentioned that you don't feel good when you don't feel as strong as your standards of strength and as um, muscular as your standards of muscularity. Is it having an impact on your dating life that you don't feel, you know, the person that you've always been known for? You don't feel yourself, should I say?
I still do pretty well,
Okay.
but it's not at the standard that I want. I think
Yep.
there's levels to the game, and I'm not the type of person that likes to be at that level.
Yep.
That kind of, to be frank, infuriates me a little.
It what?
It kind of infuriates me that I'm not at that level anymore. And
Okay.
so that's been a challenge. I can hide it really well. I don't think
Okay.
people see it, and I still
What
get
just
compliments
just so
from
I
friends
understand
too.
context, like
Yeah.
back in the past when you were more driven and you were doing the workouts and you were, living life the way you were in the past, what level would you have said you were at on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being I'm at the peak level and zero being I'm at, civilian level. Where would you have put yourself in the past?
Say 9.5,
Okay.
always room for improvement. So
Sure. Well, you've
well,
got
I'll
very
say
high
10, but it's
standards,
it's
so
a
I
nine.
I'm not
Yeah,
surprised you
yeah,
didn't say 10, but okay, so nine and a
yeah.
half. Where are you at now in terms of your level?
6.5, 7, as far as what I believe I should be and have been.
Can I challenge you on that?
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, as far as, the level, I'm doing pretty well, the standards, I'm winning, but I'm not winning at the level I want. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's more of a gap than you being a 7 and you were a 9. Like it, and I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to get absolute clarity of where you feel you're at on a day-to-day basis, where your feeling of how you feel, not compared to everyone else. I'm probably a 7. It sounds like it's bothering you more than I've only gone down by like 2 points from a 9.5 to a 7. Am I missing something?
No, there was something else I was known very well for. So I did a lot of MMA training. I actually
Okay.
coached a lot of professional MMA athletes too.
Okay.
And one of the things I was known for was having better conditioning than anybody.
Right.
It was literally my secret weapon. So I can hang with
Okay.
black belts, brown belts,
So in terms
and
of all of these
now,
different
yeah.
things, like conditioning, your muscle, what you're known for, your dating life, and again, I'm not trying to put you down. I want to understand, is there a big enough gap here that you are motivated to make a change now? And that's, you just got to be honest with yourself and be honest with me. Do you feel you're at a 6 or a 7 as far as the level that you're at compared to the standard that you would like to be at? Do you feel that you're like 70% of the way there?
No, I think
So where are you really?
now that you put it that way, it's probably a bigger gap because it's on my mind the whole time.
Right? I can feel that.
I
Yeah.
think I was with a date recently, and she loves that I'm in shape, but we
Mm-hmm.
were kind of laying on the couch, and she did something that annoyed the hell out of me. I usually have like a flat stomach,
Mm,
and I don't think she did this on purpose, but like she pinched a little of the fat in my stomach,
mm.
and that was a moment where I was like, I don't want that ever to happen again. And then I didn't really say anything. I kind of just brushed her hand off. But that would never happen. Like that's never happened ever in my life. Or somebody actually pinched the fat in my stomach. Like
And
it's
when
still
that when
flat.
that
Uh,
yeah, when that did happen recently, how did that make you feel?
Annoyed and a little pissed off because that was one of my calling cards with my abs. Like that V shape, the
Mm,
lines there. That was like what I had been known for. And the
mm,
fact that she did that, and I don't think she did that out of malice, just playing around,
mm.
that that's still been in my head.
So what I'm hearing, and I'd like you to see if you can help me reconcile this, is you used to have more drive. You used to be doing the workouts that were getting you this physique that you were known for, whether it was conditioning, whether it was muscle, whether it was your literal capability rolling around in the MMA octagon. And where you're at now, whether it be a girl pinching some of your fat on your stomach or, your standards internally, you're not there. But what I'm not clear on is the way you're expressing this. You said like I was annoyed, I was a little bit peeved. I'm not reconciling like how you're describing this bothering you or affecting you with these very, very high standards that you're telling me that you have for yourself. In other words, there's like a discrepancy between my standards are here and I'm currently here, but the way you're expressing this gap it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal. Does that make sense?
It does, and
You seem very kind of chill about it, if I'm being honest. You're telling me the right things. You're telling yourself, these are my standards, I'm below my standards, but I'm not feeling that it's bothering you. So, and you don't have to be bothered by it. I mean, most people would be very happy with where you're at. But either it is bothering you to the point where you have sleepless nights about this and you need to do something about it right now, or it's not. There's not really anything that's going to change if it's somewhere in the middle. And what I'm hearing from you right now is it's kind of in the middle. Am I missing something?
It's in the middle as far as the output. I think one of the challenging things is trying to wrap my head around how this has happened with myself because there's such high effing standards. I've actually, I don't think I've told many people this, but I had like a body image disorder back in the day where I was the guy who was literally measuring fruit and vegetables 5.5 ounces, and I would sit there and literally, be 5.5, 5.6. I
Mm.
was that guy.
And so does the
And
kind of
yeah,
disorder that you had in the past and kind of trying to wrap your head around how this has happened, is that currently some type of coping mechanism for you accepting that this is truly bothering you? Is that where this connects in the middle? I'm trying to understand that.
what do you mean by like coping mechanism?
Well, as in you're saying like I don't know how this happened, and I used to have a body disorder, and so therefore instead of you sitting there and saying to yourself and saying to me, I chose this to happen. I'm not willing to let it continue happening. I need to fix it. The kind of the doorway for you out of facing this reality, if it really is a significant reality, is, well, I don't really know how it happened, and maybe I'm falling back into some type of over excessive body dysmorphia. I don't want to go there again, and that's kind of what's keeping you from maybe feeling that this is really a big issue, because it either is a big issue for you, who gives a shit whether it's a body dysmorphia or not. It's like you either don't feel happy the way your body is not giving you the compliments that you wanted, and you're not living up to your standards, or it's not bothering you. I'm not here to tell you whether it's a body dysmorphia or not, and quite frankly, you shouldn't care either. You either are really fucking pissed off by this and you need to do something about it right now, or it's manageable. And, you know, there's only one of those options that's going to make it make sense for us to go any further in this conversation. And I don't want to lead you to either of those answers. I just want you to tell me the truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would, this downward slope started, I would say 10 months ago.
Okay.
I had some
What do you
medical,
mean by downward slope? That what was going downward?
I had some medical issues
Okay.
um, that literally affected my joints
Okay.
and some inflammation issues, some arthritic issues,
Right.
and it affected my ability to work out
Okay.
tremendously. And that was the actual downward slide. Whereas I'm recovered from most of that, what happened. And I don't think I've been the same since then.
What has
And
not been the same? What has not been the same?
well, I had some inflammation issues, possible like autoimmune issues that were going on. And so there was times where I literally couldn't work out.
Okay.
Or if I did work out, it had to be very easy because it stressed the body a lot.
Right.
And so there was a good 3 to 6 months where my workouts were literally body weight.
Okay.
And there was a lot of uncertainty there
And what happened
and
in terms of your physique?
lost some muscle mass. Clothes
How
were
much? How
fitting.
much?
Geez, the muscle mass probably lost about 7, 8 pounds, about 7 pounds of muscle mass. Yeah. And
And
gained the body
how
fat
how
too.
visible was that for you in terms of people giving you a compliment? How much did that shift you being known for your physique over the last, 3 to 6 months, losing 8 pounds of muscle?
It was more so some of my buddies, like, and we do this with each other all the time. It's like, what's up, bro? You so skinny. It's those comments from my buddies that I've known forever, who we all work out. We give each other a bad, like we raise, make fun of each other. It's done with love, but it's also done with, dude, what's up?
And how
And
did
so
you
there was a good
take it
three.
in terms of like, do you just take it as buddy love and friends just joking with each other, or does it actually affect you?
it's buddy love, but it actually does affect me
How
because
so?
now because I've always been the top dog in the group as far as the fitness things. And there was never a time I could be made fun of in regards that. So when you have some people that have known you for 15 years and they tell you like, "What's up, dude? Why are you losing weight? Your arms look small." It's
How does it
joking.
feel? That makes sense. How does it feel to go
Yeah.
from always the winner, always the top dog, always the guy known for achievement in your physique, your muscle, your performance, your hierarchy in your peer group, to now not being the winner? How do you actually feel deep down?
Not myself. Like not myself.
What do you mean by that when you say not yourself? What is yourself in your mind?
It's always been the person that can outlift anybody. It was the person that everyone would come to for advice about exercise, nutrition. And I took a lot of pride in that because I knew there's nobody that can outwork me.
Okay. Can I
And
ask you, how is your pride now?
it's not what it used to be as far as
How is it? Rather
it,
than telling me what it's not, what is your current feeling of pride?
like I'm walking through the motions and kind of ashamed of the output that I'm doing with the workouts now. I've came out of that medical issue that's resolved now. That did take a mental hit on me, and the body and everything is finally feeling normal again.
Mhm.
So it's learning to trust myself to push it again.
Is there anything that's keeping you from learning to trust yourself to push your body again when, by the sound of it, you are pretty in tune with your body for the last 40 years?
The only challenge was this medical issue I went through where the chessboard was thrown up in the air. The same rules weren't applying to me because some of these things were out of my control. And now that I'm out of that, I'm starting to remember, okay, this is who I am. But the workouts I'm doing right now, they're sprints, they're 20, 30 minutes. Whereas I was literally doing two a days, 5, 6, 7 days a week, like a psychopath. And that's actually when I'm the most happy.
Hmm. Okay. So you mentioned the word ashamed. Do you feel ashamed that you've gone from being the guy that was known for outdoing anybody, being the guy to get advice from, to the guy that is now, with all due respect, being made fun of by your peer group, being made fun of by the girl that you're dating? I know she didn't mean it maliciously, but hey, you've
Yeah,
got a bit of fat here. Let me pinch this. Do you feel ashamed that you've gone from up here in your standards to back down to normal civilian level?
it tugs at me every single day, actually.
Okay.
The
What does tugs at you mean? What actually happens?
I would have this little routine I would do in the morning. I don't know if you've seen the American Psycho movie, but he has this whole routine in the morning where he's doing push-ups. He looks in the mirror, he puts his fragrance on, and now I'm at a point now where it's like, all right, I got to find the right angle to look at my body. And there's no way I'm ending up as one of those guys with the dad bods. Like that's not going to happen. I'm just that's a non-negotiable. I that will not happen.
Okay, well, that might be a non-negotiable, and it doesn't sound like you have a dad bod right now, but that seems pretty far away from where you're at now and how that compares to your standards. So, if I'm being honest, Chris, like the thing that I'm seeing as a hold up for you is that when it comes to truly creating the drive, because you said you don't have the drive to do the workouts before, it sounds like the thing that's preventing you from getting the drive is when I've asked you, for example, how do you feel? Instead of telling me, and I'm not telling you you have to say anything, but just to explain this, you're not telling me I feel this way. I feel bad. I feel this. I feel that. The way you express it is I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that, which, to give you a very quick psychology 101, that's called disassociation. And if you're disassociated from something, you're not going to feel the drive to make the changes. And at the same time, when I'm saying, potentially, why do you need to do something about this? You say, well, I don't want to have a dad bod. Well, that's probably never going to happen for someone like you that has a muscle memory, a history of working out. And for you, like a little bit of fat is enough for us to be on this phone call. The root cause of the issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you don't seem to have the drive to go from where you're at now, which is frankly quite good for most people, back to extreme champion status where you're the leader, you can outdo everyone. And unless you can get to a point where the way you're expressing this frustration is significant enough for it to give you the drive, then you will just stay at this place. So perhaps maybe this call is premature and maybe we should revisit it when you've gone a little bit further down and maybe you do hit not a dad bod, but rock bottom for you, where it's like, actually, this is way below the standard that I would ever set myself, and now I need to bounce back up. What I'm hearing right now is you're not there yet, unless it's just a front that we haven't broken through. Does this make sense?
It does make sense. It's funny you mentioned a disassociated thing. That's not the first time I've heard that
Hmm.
from somebody in regards to this. And so it does feel like this boiling thing inside me, but expressing it hasn't been a skill set that I've developed.
And
I
do you think that lack of feeling it and therefore expressing it has been the reason that you've stayed at this middle of the road standard in terms of your physique?
I believe so. And I remember the times when I'd be in shape, I was very boastful about it. I was, all right, take
What do you
off your
think
shirt.
what do you think would happen if you were as boastful of your disappointment and frustration with your current physique as you were about your pride for your old physique? What do you think making that shift would do in terms of you getting the result that you want? If you were as boastful about, I'm fucking fuming, this is not myself, this is not who I'm supposed to be, do you think that would have an impact on you actually getting out of this Groundhog Day as far as the standard that you're currently at?
Groundhog Day. Damn.
Why why
Yeah,
why did you why did
actually,
you why did you repeat that?
that's actually what it feels like. It's feels like a Groundhog Day where I'm at this level that I've been settling for.
And based on what we've been talking about, what do you think has caused you to continue going through this cycle of Groundhog Day?
Originally, it was the health issues, but those are gone, and so I can't put that on that anymore. I feel physically pretty much 100%. I would say, shit, probably keeping this all to myself
Why do you think that's caused you to not have the internal fuel to make the changes that you need to make?
because I thrive off that competition. I thrive off, you may be me, but you won't outwork me. And so, geez, I can recall I've always been this way, but anytime my buddies and I would have a competition about, right, body fat percentage or this or that, it wasn't that I was going to win. I was like, I was going to embarrass everybody else. And I haven't verbalized that at all to anybody actually. So it feels like just a status quo right now. And part of it, yeah, it feels like a status quo right now. I would actually love to go back to my buddy next time I see him and just have him just like, oh shit, all right, Chris is back. And then it's me making fun of him with love. That does fire me up. That does.
So it sounds
I
like
think
you
that's what,
yeah, no, go ahead.
yeah, I think that's what's been missing. That's when I haven't verbalized it. It's almost, because I do have the MMA jiu-jitsu background. Part of the competition was like, let's effing roll and having something to look forward to. I think I've lost that. And kind of been in a silo as far as the fitness part is concerned.
Hmm.
And traditionally, I've not been in a silo. I've either been with fighters or friends that work out. I tend to be in a silo right now because of my business and work. And so it feels like I'm in this bubble right now.
And so, you know, deep down, you probably already knew what you're now expressing. This might just be the first time you've articulated it succinctly. How did knowing that you need to get out of a silo and have competition and no longer just be in this status quo where you're in your own little environment, how did that awareness come into play when it came to booking this call and getting outside help?
I've always had mentors throughout my life in business. I've always had coaches. I've always stood on the shoulders of giants to see further than other people could see.
And how long has it been
And
since you've done that, whether it be not standing on the shoulders of a giant, a mentor, healthy competition with your friends? How long have you been not operating in the way that has given you the results that you wanted in the past?
it's been about a year, what kind of correlates with some of the health issues
Okay.
when I was traveling.
And are you at the
Yeah.
point right now, maybe based on where you're at, maybe a combination of this conversation, are you at the point where you're no longer going to rob yourself of that type of environment or relationship, whether it be standing on the shoulders of a giant, having healthy competition, that's that's currently keeping you from having the thriving environment that you need to get out of this status quo? Have you gotten to the point where you're no longer willing to stay out of that environment, knowing what you need?
No, and the main reason, man, anytime I've been freaking stuck, I've reached out to a mentor, I've reached out to a coach to really leverage their expertise, but also being in an environment where I literally have no choice to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I thrive off
And
that
if
freaking
I'm
pressure.
understanding correctly, you've not been in that situation for a year. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's been pretty accurate. I've just been in grind mode.
How much
To
longer are
the
you willing to stay in that place where you do have a choice? You could just not verbalize things. You could just not have a competition. You could just not have a girlfriend. How much longer are you going to stay? Are you willing to stay in that position where it's not a no choice position? It's not a win lose competitive environment. Another day, another week, another month. How much longer do you want to drag this out?
I don't want to drag this shit out any longer, actually.
How much longer are you going to drag it out?
I don't want to drag it out. I
Now,
I feel like a
don't want to versus not going to is a very small example of you still not verbalizing things. That phrasing is you still having an out. I don't want to. That's not, hey, motherfucker, I'm lining up on the starting line and we're racing and I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. That's like, I want to race you. Well, you can want as long as you want, or you're going to race and you're going to be put in the environment, in your words, where you're going to thrive to win. So, how much longer are you going to not be in that environment?
damn, you actually made me remember a story of San Francisco MMA training. We'd go out after training, we'd line up and we'd all fucking race. And I was always the first or second one to
So
win.
how much longer are you willing to be the only one not on the starting line, stood over there in your little silo, not verbalizing things, and therefore not thriving?
I'm not gonna actually sit on the sidelines anymore. That's those are my favorite freaking memories. Those are literally my favorite memories.
Okay. Now, there's probably a lot of races going on, and you could just race against your buddies. Why, if you do you want to enter our race with our training, with our community, with our mentorship, rather than any of the other, pick up and play races that are out there?
Anytime I've done my best, there's always leadership there. I like the fact of showing up where the environment takes over and you don't have a choice. There is no thinking. It's show up and act or get out. And I actually really love that tough love. I can turn my brain off and just do what I know I'm supposed to do. And that's that's why this program would attract me is the leadership, the coaching, it's the environment. I do believe there's something about an environment. You are the environment you're in. And as much as I love my friends, they're super busy, they got jobs. The reliability with them comes and goes. I need something really reliable. And I miss that feeling of that nervous energy before like a workout. It's similar to a fight. I thrive off that because it's an energy source. I miss being nervous before like jujitsu or sparring. I miss being nervous before a workout. And that's actually when I feel alive.
Okay. Understood. Let me go back through everything. Tell me if I've missed anything. Tell me if there's anything you need to add, and then let me know if it all connects for you. Okay. So, if I'm
Okay.
understanding correctly, pretty much all your life, 40 years, give or take, being a kid, you've always been the guy that can outdo anybody in terms of physical pursuits at the very least, in terms of having the pride that you're the big dog. You're the guy that's everyone's going to advice for. You're the leader. You're the one that everyone's like, I hope he doesn't pick on me and make fun of me because he's the alpha, basically. And recently, at least over the last, call it year and a half, you've been on this real downward slope where your reality, as far as who you know yourself as, based on how other people know you, has just flipped upside down. You're now the one that your friends are calling skinny. You're now the one that's being picked on by your buddies. You're the one that doesn't like it when your girlfriend or the girl that you're seeing is pinching a bit of your fat jokingly, but that's not who you are. And the real reason that that's all happened and kind of escalated through this downward spiral is that in the past, your environment was a win lose environment. There was no choice. You're either going to come first or your second place for you was not an option. It was like, I'm in an environment, I'm going to win. And now what you've done is you've allowed yourself to go on this downward spiral where you've put yourself in a silo. You're not even in the race anymore. You're not even on the start line running the race. And as a result of that, the thriving environment that you've always put yourself in has no longer been there. And as a result of that, you've not needed to verbalize how you feel, that it's really bothering you that much, because you can just kind of disassociate yourself from how bad it really is, because you're not competing with other people. You're just like, well, I'm okay. And they're all running their race over there, but I'm not in the race anyway. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah.
to add on what I've covered so far?
No, that's literally having that replayed to me. I've known that, but actually hearing it out loud kind of I can actually feel it in my chest. There's a little bit of pissed off, but the good pissed off. Yeah.
Does that compare to how you felt when you hopped onto this call? Because at least what I'm hearing is a little bit pissed off. Is that any different to how it was 45 minutes ago? Is there any difference in what you're feeling?
Yeah, there's an actual, I can actually feel it in my chest. I can actually feel the energy building in my chest.
Okay.
And that
What?
energy is the same energy I would get before sparring, the same energy I would get before a race, the same
That
energy I would get before I would roll on jujitsu. And I
that kind of
effing love
energy,
that
that
feeling.
energy source that you were saying, where you feel alive, and that's your energy source inside of you. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
How does that feel for you to feel that again after all this time?
it feels damn good actually. It feels like I'm, I feel like it's going to sound a little corny, but it sounds like I've signed a contract for a fight that's coming up.
Hmm.
And I love that nervous energy because I'm going to do it anyways. I haven't felt that in a while, actually.
Does it feel like the person that you know yourself to be?
It actually does.
Okay. Let's get into the other side of things then. And again, correct me if I've missed anything wrong. As a result of you not thriving and you not being the guy that you've always known yourself for, you don't feel the aliveness that you used to feel. You don't feel you have that energy source. And as a result of that, the alternative that you feel is kind of just ashamed with yourself. You just don't feel that pride anymore. The other thing that you mentioned, which I think is really important, is you said previously how you were living your life where you're in this competitive environment and you were therefore thriving. You said those were your favorite memories. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, life is just about stacking memories, just stacking the good times, having fun, doing the things that make us feel alive. And it sounds like the way you're living life now, where you're not thriving and you're not yourself, you're not outdoing everybody around you. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but doesn't sound like you're having any good memories. You're just coasting. You're just going through life, but you're not stacking these peak experience memories that it sounds like used to be back to back to back to back in the past. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. I actually told one of my ex-girlfriends this, why she asked me along the lines, why are you so like that when you work out? And the joke I said is I work out like I'm trying to save the planet. And I haven't worked out like I'm trying to save the planet in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's something very primal that I love about it. And that needs and will come back. That's where my life falls into place.
Mm.
When that's going on, I walk around with this unbreakable confidence because I know I've pushed myself so hard that everything else is like child's play.
Mm. Understood. And basically, how this whole thing is making you feel, which we can now put a feeling on it, is Groundhog Day. But Groundhog Day can mean a lot of different things. Specifically to you, it feels like the Groundhog Day where you haven't been feeling that emotion that you just told me you're now feeling 5 minutes ago. You've basically just been going through days and weeks and months for at least the last 6 months, but really about 18 months where you haven't felt that energy source inside of you, that nervousness, that excitement, that anxiety, that competitiveness, that primal energy. And so my question for you, Chris, is number one, is everything I said accurate? Is there anything that you want to add or anything you want to change?
Not only is it accurate, I can actually feel the memories of going to the gym with the music playing. I would always have one or two fight walkout songs. And then I would love this nervous energy, like I'm going to the gym, like I'm going into a fight. And I love that nervous energy. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I can actually feel that again. And that actually gets me juiced up, actually.
Nice. And then my second question for you is at the end of this call, you're going to have two choices. Option one is you go back to being in a silo. And this energy that you're feeling right now, whilst you're imagining these things in your brain, will disappear. And you'll go back to Groundhog Day. That energy, that thriving primal energy source, that excitement, that competitive spirit inside of you will be gone. And it could be another week, another month, another year, or even a decade that you don't feel that again. And therefore, you don't feel yourself. You know that your buddies are busy. You know they're not going to give you the competitive environment that you need to thrive in and get back to peak version of Chris. Or at the end of this call, you can say, this feeling that I'm feeling right now inside my chest, I don't want to let it go. I want to hold on to it. I want to put myself right away into the environment that will keep that competitive spirit there, keep that energy source pumping, keep me juiced up. The question is, which one of those choices are you going to make? Choice is yours.
We're making the effing choice to get that energy back.
Why?
That's who the F I am. That's literally who the F I am. I almost feel like it's my destiny to be that person. And the way I would speak about my workouts, it's very destiny-like. It's like I'm working out for my bloodline.
Mm,
And I think there's no greater reward than that.
Yeah, based on the way you've been communicating, exercise or your body image or your compliments that you receive, they're not materialistic, they're not logical, they're not superficial. For you, this is about blood. This is about spirit. This is about energy. This is not just, oh, my gym clothes and my size of my biceps. This is raw material for you. This is your spirit, this is your blood, this is your energy. So how many more days are you willing to stay in a silo and not be living true to who you are?
I think it's time to freaking destroy the silo.
Do you want to do that together?
I want to do that together.
All right. Awesome stuff. Well, I'll take you through what our competitive environment looks like, the training, the accountability, the support, the mentorship. I'll take you A through to Z through what that looks like. I'll take you through the blood, the sweat, the tears, and then we'll go from there. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I feel like you were playing somewhat of a real prospect, Chris. We'll see.
There's it's a little close to home.
I could feel that. I could feel that. All right. Let's start with takeaways from Chris and then put your hand up, folks, if you've got takeaways, questions, and we'll go through everybody that was witnessing. So, Chris, share with us what's really going on. What were you feeling? What were you thinking? How was that for you? What was your realizations? Share away.
Just from an energetic side, it felt like you were in my corner the whole time. There's a really good scene, like a great guy that used to train Mike Tyson, and he talked about you're in the fire now, but it felt like you were literally like, hey man, get out there. This is what you need to do. Remember who you are. And so anytime I wouldn't even say challenge, but it's like, hey, like, help me understand like what's going on. Where I actually had to look inwards and really process things. And so it never felt like a freaking sales call. Like I don't think at any moment I felt like you were trying to sell me at all. It was literally like, hey, I'm here for you. What's going on? More of like it sounds corny, but more of like a guardian angel type of feel.
Hmm? Yep.
And so yeah, so like there was no resistance. It was like anytime I paused, I was literally processing what was going on. And then also you using my words, but just also the energy. We're actually like when I said I felt that in my chest, that was legit. Like that, I miss that feeling of that nervous energy before a workout because I know what I'm going to put myself through and it's going to be hell and I'm going to love every part of it. And I actually, that feeling was great. And the way you asked that very powerful question after stirring those energies of like, are you are you going here? Are you keeping that energy? Because if you don't, that energy is going to leave and it's going to go by. And I was like, there's no fucking way that's happening. Yeah, the initial takeaways there. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
All right. Let's see what anybody else has. All right, we're going to bring up Christian. Oni, Demario, and Christian. Guys, am I just wasting my time doing these and, pulling myself out of retirement? Doesn't have any impact on anybody? What's going on? All right, let's see what Christian has to say. Guys, if anybody else has any takeaways or any questions, put your hand up. I'm genuinely shocked that the limited number of takeaways. Maybe I'm just out of practice. Maybe that wasn't that good. All right, what's Demario got to say?
First and foremost, it was that good, so definitely don't feel that way. The first word that comes to my mind throughout this whole process was just peaceful.
Hmm.
Like there was areas where you would challenge him, but it just felt so neutral. And you had to challenge like unsell him like 2 to 3 times. But the way that you did it in a different way each time allowed him to access the truth. which was crazy to see because I could tell this was like an actual real, like you were playing a part, Chris, for sure.
100%.
I love the way that you started to speed things up, but the flow didn't change. The
Mm,
flow was the exact same of like we're still in this peaceful place, but I'm speeding this up a little bit.
100%.
What else here? I got a lot here. Yeah, you were able to unlock his energy. It brought me back to a call that I had. I had a person just like this that was really just closed off, and I didn't know how to like break through that. But the way that I would explain it, how you broke through it, is like a movie. It's like when the hero goes through something bad and then you have that like feeling of them rising up. That's exactly what exactly happened in this call. So yeah, overall just crazy. So very good call.
Awesome stuff. All right, let's see who else we got. All right, good. We got some more people. Michael, put your hand up, Jordan, and then I'll see you in the participants and I'll bring you up as well.
Hey
What's
Josh.
going on, Michael?
Great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so for me the feedback is really in the feedback, the takeaway. I was impressed how much you were really completely there all the time. It was almost hypnotic to look at. And this is the part where I stumble a little bit because it's hard for me to follow. That's
Mm,
the big part I will have to work on. And I think watching you working is already great. Yeah, great asset. And then it will be all about practice. So yeah, it's more about I need to work on that. That's tragic because it's beautiful. It's just like a piece of art. I would say this is the thing. I see that as a piece of art. And yeah, so now up to me to
beautiful
work.
Yeah,
takeaway.
and if I can tag on to that, like w- as I'm playing a prospect, I'm more closed off. Like as the closer, I'm very empathetic. It's like I mean I'm an empath when it comes to that, but when it's inverted, I'm the complete opposite. And then if somebody tries to A-type me, I push back. And obviously Josh is very type confident, but there was no time I felt like he was trying to do this to me. And then it just like left like my guard kept coming down where I'm like, oh, this dude's actually trying to help me and just try to understand. And that feeling was huge. And you mentioned like there was a hypnotic effect to it too as well, because you were so present. Whereas like, oh my God, this guy's so present with me. I have to be present with him. It's similar to like a stand-up comedian, like the top, they can in a good way. You're going on, you're consenting to be hypnotized. It almost felt like that because you were so in tune to everything going on here and so accurate summarizing. It was like almost like one of those magicians that are like pick a number and like, oh shit, he knows the number I was thinking. Shit. Um, and so yeah, it was very masterful. And it's interesting because again, I'm an empath when I'm closing, but I'm shut off when I'm on the other side.
Mm,
And there was no time I felt like I was just trying to do this or this. It was more of like, hey man, I'm just trying to understand. I'm here for you. And you said it more with the energy than with the words. The words were there, but it was the energy that the words were delivered in that just like that. And the powerful question was like a Stephen Campbell hero's journey question. I was like, oh shit, it's the part of the movie. It's either I fall or I rise and there's a sequel. And I'm like, there's gonna be a fucking sequel, god damn it. Dark Knight Rises here. So I kind of had that Dark Knight Rise moment there. And it was actually genuine because this played close to home. Not all of it, but most of it played close to home.
yeah. Quick interim, guys. Notice the words that are being used here: art, energy, magic. Like, it's not a coincidence, guys. It's because what I'm teaching you here, what the underground mentor is teaching you here, is art. It is magic. It is a piece of music. It's not bullshit word tracks. It's how do you actually become this person that can be so tuned into someone, as Chris said, you change the person on the other end of the phone. Chris is like, normally I'm pretty shut off. I feel a bit combative when I'm an A type and someone else is an A type and it's all this stuff going on. And Chris is like, I couldn't really do that because that's just not the frame that we're in. And so this
Yeah.
whole idea of you have prospects that are A types and you have prospects that are not A types, and you need to sell this type in this way and this type in this way. It's like, what about if I taught you a way where you can turn the A types into a non-A type? Is that not more masterful rather than trying to have these different methodologies for A types? I've said it before, guys. There's no such thing as an A type. There's someone that is choosing to show up with a certain frame, and that's their modus operandi. But you can change that based on reading the room and being present and tuning in and realizing what's going on. To give you one example, guys, even though I still did a how much longer question at the end, I was thinking maybe I'm not going to need to. My previous closing question on this call before I realized we needed a bit more was a choice question. You can do this or you can do that. That's very different to a how much longer question, which is quite confrontational. Are you going to choose another day, another week, another month? It's very confrontational in a sense. You don't deliver it that way. The reason I asked a choice question is because I could feel what type of prospect Chris was playing, and probably Chris is in real life, which is he's a winner. He's a champion. He likes to make his own fucking choices. So I'm not going to get to the end of the call and do something that is so uncalibrated to the prospect that I'm speaking to. I could tell through the whole conversation that if I try and, one up Chris and give him a how much longer question, that might be the one thing that broke the call. Everything else could have been perfect. And then I try and close it with some, okay, are you going to choose today the right thing? He'd be like, oh, fuck this. This guy's not even aware of who I am or how I operate. So at the very end of the call, I was like, Chris, choice is yours. You could do this. You could do this. What are you going to do? And I just gave it to him because I could read the room of what type of prospect I'm talking to. This is where you have to understand the fluidity and the flexibility and therefore the power of scriptless selling. Even though most calls I'll end with a how much longer question, sometimes I won't, based on what's going on for the last 40 minutes on the call. All right, let's jump to
Thank you.
Lawrence. Oh, it's my pleasure, Michael. Wonderful feedback. Loved it. All right, let's go to next person here.
What's going on, man?
What's up, Lawrence?
Absolutely crazy. I think the biggest takeaway for me was just going back to you're in this corner the whole time and the ethics that I felt behind the way that you sold. There was a time when I was just like, dude, is this role play just going to end in like you unselling him and then we stopping here? But you doing that unsell because you didn't feel that you genuinely just didn't feel like he would be a fit. He could get the results because he didn't have a big enough drive to be able to go through the program and do that. And you actually just weren't willing to move forward if he didn't have that. And then you challenging him led to that life-changing moment where Chris got that feeling back and then had that whole entire realization. So it was like you literally created that for him with your unwillingness to falter and move on without having a proper reason to. And then there would have been a lay down sale for sure. So I think genuinely, it's not only is it like just artistry, you just pretty much just changed his life on that call. And
I think about that, guys, sorry, Lawrence, keep going.
Yeah, no, I was just saying if you didn't do that, he maybe if you pitched him crazy, he would have bought the program and maybe he wouldn't have gotten results because he didn't come in with that drive that you would have tried to get out of him, even if he did buy it. So it would have been an unethical sell.
100%.
So,
yeah. Think about that going back to the point of magic, guys. Like, and I don't like saying this about myself, so I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but like to be able to make someone feel a feeling inside of them, like to literally build a little glowing ball of energy inside another person. As far as I'm aware, that's pretty deep fucking spiritual magic to be able to change someone's feelings and like literally like a puppet. I'm like putting a feeling into Chris. Now I'm not doing that manipulatively. I'm not doing that to try and force the situation, but to think that Chris was not feeling anything before this call. And as he just said, that feeling that he felt was real. He wasn't pretending as a prospect that he had a feeling. Like, imagine having that power, guys. And then you tie that to, if you use that power, using a Spider-Man quote, ethically, if you have that power and you use it responsibly, that's how you get paid a lot of money, guys. You have a power that most people don't have, and you wield that power to change people's lives for the better. The transaction in between that is your commissions. If you don't have power or you don't have ethics, the amount of money in your bank account is going to be very limited. You need power and you need ethics. Good people with no power don't create successful lives. Good people with no ethics find that they may have some success, depends what they're doing, and then they fall back down because eventually everything's going to karmically come back on you. The way we're teaching you to sell is very powerful, and it comes with very strong ethics as well. And the result of that in the middle is you can make a massive amount of money. Sometimes when people hear me say online, I made $100,000 a month in commissions, they're like, oh, how's that possible? Well, hopefully for you in this mastermind and for those that end up seeing this on YouTube, when you see what I'm doing, it hopefully, if I say so myself, you'd be like, oh, no shit, he made 100 grand a month. Like, this is pretty fucking deep. Like, this is not just something you're going to read in a little book or do a few role play sessions. Like, my income was equal to the mastery of what we're teaching you. And it's always going to be that way. You can't shortcut that. It's always going to be like that. Okay. All right, let's move on to
Josh, can I add one more thing really quick?
Please do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you read me, because like my personality, I'm a very rebellious person, like entrepreneur, yada yada. I need freedom of choice. And so I felt like when you hit me with the how much longer, I felt like you sensed like, all right, he's giving me a bullshit answer. He's just telling me what I want to hear. And then, but when you gave me the hero's journey, choose your adventure, I was like, there's no effing way I'm going that way, dude. That's where it popped open, because you read me. My reaction was, I don't believe Chris when he says that. Let me give him the hero's journey adventure choice. I'm like, oh, Dark Knight Rises here, brother. And that was powerful, because it just hit me right now. That's what that kind of ignited that feeling or energy build up in the chest. So yeah. So
beautiful. Jay?
Perfect role play, guys. I'm blessed. I was blessed enough to watch all 3 role plays. And today I decided for myself to go a little bit less detailed in the way I was approaching listening to it. And what I really took away from the last 3 days, Josh, is your timing with I'd say this, your timing with putting up the pressure of the call. So, like it's very natural because you're data gathering in the beginning, but you're always talking about warming up the prospect in a certain way, right? You're always making the funny analogy between, you know what I'm talking about. And it's like, especially with a prospect like Chris, right? Who is like A type a little bit, has his ego in a very subtle way. It's so important not to challenge them too soon. And that's what I took away from the last 3 days, and especially today, because in the beginning it was very relaxed, and you just very gradually up the pressure to a point where it's like, okay, now you're putting his feet to the fire, but not in a way that it's super obvious. And that's, for me, it's so calibrated, and that's a very good takeaway for me.
Yep. Again, guys, realize all of these takeaways. They're takeaways philosophically of how to sell, not tactically. Philosophically, don't try and just challenge someone too quickly. That's not a written out tactic. Okay, ask 7 questions and then you can do a challenging, and then ask 3 more and then you can do this, which is, again, I've said it before, guys, like that's what reading a script means. It's all pre-planned. I mean, how the fuck are you going to pre-plan it? How are you going to make a lot of money pre-planning that Chris has got one type of, let's call it barometer or thermometer for how warm he is before I can challenge him, and another prospect's completely different? So how are you going to pre-plan this whole thing in a script? You can't. You can't pre-plan it unless you're happy with an average close rate, which, if I'm being direct on YouTube, is usually because you've just got lay down sales. In other words, the 25% close rate you closed was nothing to do with your sales script or your sales ability. It was that you didn't say anything dumb and the person turned up to the call already wanting to buy before they had the phone call with you. And you look at your 20% close rate and go, wow, I closed 20%. No, that was just the people that were going to buy anyway, and they just happened to be on your calendar. The other 80% is all the variants of human beings that you need to understand. This person needs a quicker call. This person needs a slower call. This person needs a choice-based question. This person needs a how much longer, very direct question. And all of those differences you need to master to close the other 70, 80% of your leads. You can't pat yourself on the back for the 25% of calls that you closed. They were just going to buy anyway, most of the time. Does that make sense, folks? So like Jay's saying,
Yeah.
calibration is one of the key things that you need to learn. Now, for a lot of people, they hear calibration and they think they've got to, again, memorize avatars and, okay, A-type personality, Josh said, do this. It's not that black and white, guys. It's just be present. If you're truly present, you would have understood, okay, we're talking to a guy that's got this wall. He's in a bit of a silo. He doesn't really want to feel his feelings. I'm going to have to massage this a little bit. I'm going to have to see if he wants to go there. It's his choice if he does want to go there or he doesn't. And I'm just leading him there and seeing if he wants to go there. Talking about the feet to the fire analogy, I don't think I've ever explained this. You've got to hold someone's feet to the fire, but the irony is they've got to be telling you, even though it's going to hurt, I want you to put my feet to the fire because I know that's what I need. If they're not telling you they want you to do it, you're just a bully. You're just dominating them. It's like the person that, using the analogy of what we're talking about here, selling, the fitness trainer and the fitness client, and the fitness trainer has to have permission from the fitness client. They want to be pushed to their limit. Now, when they're at their limit and the trainer is saying one more rep and they're like, no, I don't want to do another rep, there's this mutual agreement between the two of you. You're going to say you don't want me to hold your feet to the fire, but I know you do want me to hold your feet to the fire. So even though it's hot, I'm going to keep doing it because I know deep down you want me to. That initial person, the fitness client or the prospect, initially they're the one that has the choice. Do they want their feet held to the fire or not? How do you discover that? Your data gathering. As you're gathering the data, you're getting a read, which is why, ironically, the last 3 of these have turned into unsells. The read is, do you want me to hold your feet to the fire or not? Because if the answer is no, no worries. We'll just get off the phone now and have a great day and stay without this energy inside of you. But guys and girls that book in an inbound sales call, they want to be held their feet to the fire. You just have to go through that permission through the data gathering. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this up a bit. Like Demario said, we're starting to speed things up. I was cutting Chris off loads because he kept talking about stories in the past and other things that were not relevant. I had to keep cutting it down to stay Chris's feet close to the fire without him keep trying to go away and disassociate to something else. That was another advanced thing that I was doing, probably more so than the last 2 calls, is like, Chris keeps wanting to go off in another direction. I need to keep bringing him back to what we're talking about. Okay? All right, let's go with Jordan. Oh, has Jordan put his hand down? Okay, no good.
Can I add one thing, Josh, still?
Go for it.
So the thing that you were actually comparing it to music, right? Which is, for me, is a very good analogy because it's like music has rhythm, music changes over time, comes to crescendo, and it has a certain pressure that's rising and falling, and it's exactly, if you listen to good music, it's the same, changes over time. So it's like it's art, what you're saying. It's really like that.
Guys, you can use any vehicle. A movie has different scenes, different paces. A musical score has different scenes, different paces. Dating, you have some dates which are really chill, some dates are more heated, some dates are more fast-paced, some dates are more slow, some are more intellectual, some are more physical. Real life, guys, is this wave where things change. This whole pre-planned cookie cutter, everything's black and white, pre-planned word tracks, pre-planned scripts, that's not real life anyway, guys. So if you want to make a lot of money, you have to use a methodology that actually fits into reality. And reality is things change, things adapt, things are alive, things are energy, things are moving. Whether it's music, movies, dating life, art, it's all the same. And the only thing that's the same is it's always changing. And therefore, if you want to fit into life, you have to be the person that's adaptable. If you're not adaptable, trying to fit into an adapting environment, you have conflict. You must be adaptable because the environment is adapting. It's always changing. Okay? All right, Jordan?
Yeah, I took my hand down because a lot of the insights that I had already been repeated. So I definitely noticed the energy that you brought to it. It was very relaxed, but it wasn't apologetic. It was direct, relaxed energy. I noticed you quickly tuned in to Chris as he was going off away from the fire, and you interjected at the perfect times where, I mean, I didn't draw from Chris, but he could correct that he felt like you were being rude for interrupting because you were asking him about what he was talking about anyway to gather more detail on it before just letting him throw so much at you that you don't even know what to dig into.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people said those. The biggest thing that I thought about was think about it in terms of sports. The defense, every defender is gonna defend you differently. And so to think that every single time, like let's take basketball, you could just shoot a 3-pointer over somebody that's guarding you close, that would be the wrong shot for that particular defender. Now, if they're giving you space, then you would do it. And the same thing, if they're guarding you close, you would drive to the basket. And for me, what really stood out is each person that we talk to, even though they might seem similar, because like, oh, it's a sales call, it's the same environment. I feel like I've talked to this person before, that they're all separate individuals, and you have to really see that person for who they are rather than thinking, oh, I've dealt with this person before, I'm just going to go down this same path, because you went a completely different way than I would have expected for Chris, and me and Chris have role played before. So it was really insightful to see.
Nice.
Yeah, and to if I may piggyback, there was times where he interrupted me where I'm not used to, but it wasn't for him to insert his agenda. It was more to get clarity. Like, wait a second, you got lost in the woods. Let's get back on the yellow brick road so we can go down to the Emerald City. I was like, oh, okay. That's why, I was like, oh, okay. He's very professional and he's just trying to gain clarity versus, all right, here's my agenda. And that was the difference. I might have a reaction at the first, but then I was like, oh, we're on the yellow brick road now. I think we're going to the Emerald City now. So I'm just going to go along with it. And that was the energetic difference, because somebody interrupts me and trying to interject their agenda, then I'm going to have an issue with it. But I didn't feel that with Josh. And that was like this distinction between the two. Yeah.
Yeah. Very well articulated, Chris. I'm not interrupting someone because I want to get through the call and I want to close it and I want to get a commission. I'm interrupting because I'm like, Chris, you're confusing yourself and you're confusing me. Like that's the intention of why I'm interrupting is we're making progress, Chris, and you keep going off on a different tangent. Let's do this together. Let's make progress. Let's get headway. Let's get ahead. And it's like, a person that's running a marathon, and there's obviously a route for the marathon, and they run a few miles and then they go off down a country road. You'd be like, Chris, come on. You're still running, but you're running in the wrong direction. So you're not running the race anymore. You're just wasting energy going in the wrong direction. I'm not doing that because I'm trying to be a party pooper and say, Chris, I know that country road looks a lot more fun, but I don't want you to run that way. I'm like, you said, Chris, that you want to complete this marathon. That's what you started this call for, which, by the way, is why we have the framing. It was a reconciled agreement. We are going to go deep on this call and get clarity on what is going on in blank right now, not the other areas of your life that are not important or the past if it's irrelevant. We agreed to that frame. We agreed to run this marathon together. I am going to marshal you to make sure you stay on track. Not because I'm trying to just control you or control your life, but because I want you to finish the race that you decided you wanted to run. It's coming from a place of care and a place of leadership and a place of selflessness. Okay? All right, let's see. Does anybody else have anything they want to add, folks?
I just have a
Put your
quick
hand up.
question.
Yeah, go for it, Jordan. 100%.
How do you know like the balance between somebody showing up to a call cold and if it's possible to warm them up enough to get to that point where it's like, okay, this person would actually be closable, for lack of a better word, versus they just heard about the business the other day, clicked one ad, show up, and they're super cold and they could use more on that marketing side. I'm trying to find the balance. One of the other insights was I noticed how much you warmed him up because he showed up where I would have been like, this guy's pretty guarded. I don't know if there's actually a big enough issue here to be solved. How do you make that distinction?
Mm. The difference is that my frame is not, are they warmed up enough about my offer or about my industry or about my business? I'm not, I like the phrasing of warming the physical human up. I get that. But what I'm actually doing is not trying to warm them up to me or to my offer or to my industry. I'm trying to unpack what's going on in their life. In other words, it's already in there. They've decided to take time out of their day to turn up to a random call with a random stranger for an hour and talk to some weird person on a little square video call. Like, that's not normal, guys. It's not like, you're some blonde bombshell that they're like, oh, I'm going to go on a date with this hottie. Like, that would make a bit more sense. It's like, oh, I'm going to take an hour out of my day to talk to some stranger on the internet on a little square box. It's like there's enough in there that you need to pull out of what's going on in their life. Just take the time to do it. Whereas the idea of warming up, kind of your analogy is like, well, what if they can't be warmed up enough? It's like that's where the analogy breaks a little bit because it's not about warming them up to my offer or they know enough about, a visa or this, that, and the other. It's, have they got a story? Of course they got a story. They're a human being that's decided enough's going on in that story that they need to book in a phone call. I'm just going to unpack the story. Does that make sense, Jordan?
Yeah, and they open up and they're like, oh, I'm just shopping around, looking around, and have that kind of
Right.
energy. Is that just guarded, vague, and you just dig into the story from there? Or how do you approach someone opens a call like that?
If I try and think about how many times out of the probably 5,000 plus sales calls that someone said that to me, I'd be hard pushed to say it's like twice. Like the point is, and I said this at the start of the call, you guys have such a warped perspective of what's normal on a sales call because you're not nailing down the fundamentals. Like your ratio of how many times someone turns up to the call and says, I'm just shopping around. That is not normal. It's just that's the way that you're operating right now. For me, when I was closing full time on the dating offer, full time on the crypto offer, I don't remember how many times someone said, oh, I'm just looking around. And the reason why was because we weren't talking about that. We weren't talking about crypto or, me trying to sell you on a mastermind. We were talking about your story. And so nobody's going to object to you trying to dig into their story. Whereas when you start trying to dig in to sell them, try to warm them up to your offer or your industry or your business, they know what you're doing and they just put up a wall and say, I'm just looking. Does that make sense, Jordan? If you
Yeah.
just focus more on digging deeper and digging deeper into them and their life and their story and what's going on for them and talking about them, they don't feel they've got anything to object to. That's also why, like 3 times on that call, I basically unsold Chris because I'm like, I'm not here to try and sell you on. I mean, fuck, I don't know what the time was, guys, but how late was it in the call when we even got into why do you want to work with us? That was like the last 7 minutes of the call. We'd spent 30 plus minutes before we even got into, mentorship, community, training, whatever. And you saw also how small of a part of the call was because that's not what makes the sale, guys. What made the sale was me talking with Chris about Chris. How do you feel? Why do you feel that way? How's that bothering you? Has there been a turning point? How do you feel right now? Or now I feel like I've got this energy inside of me. None of that was to do with fitness training or a fitness community or a fitness environment. Yet Chris feels like he had the most important call of his life. That's the difference, guys. You're like, how do I warm the prospect up to my offer and my industry? It's like, you don't. You don't have to do that. That stuff just naturally takes care of itself once you've had a deep enough conversation about their story. Make sense?
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Very welcome. All right, Jay, Chris, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead,
the
Jay.
thing that what you're getting back, what you're getting to, Jordan, I think it has to do with state as well and with your intentions. I think that's what I read from that is it's pure intention, right? It's like digging into their story comes from a certain intention of helping them. That's what I think. And I mean, yeah, that's what I think is it's mainly focusing on them comes from the intention of helping them and helping them getting to a new place and changing their life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I want to add.
Chris?
I had a similar close yesterday, which was one of my favorite of all time. He was similar to me, younger, out of our ICP, and I would ask him questions, and he was saying, "It's just not that serious. It's just that's pretty basic." And then using the professional painter canvas, which I love, it frees me up even more. I love it. It's so freeing. At the end of the call is basically, I found out the reason he wants to work out is because he was in a certain country, took his shirt off, and his family made fun of him. And I was like, what was going through your mind when your family? He was like, I was pissed. I was angry. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Like, I want to rub it in their face when I go back. And it was the state change that I saw. And it felt so good because I was in his corner the whole time, genuinely like, I want to help you. And at the end of it, he says, you know what? He thanked me. It's like, thanks for really digging in. I didn't know that was in there because he was very shut off at the beginning. And it was such a great ethical feeling, like a guardian angel type feeling. And one of the things I did, the billiards switching, I'd asked him a few times and I was like, I don't buy this. Like I don't feel the energy. And I had to tie him down about 5 times. And then that finally came out. I had no idea that was going to come out at the start of that meeting. We're going to talk about Mexico, just because I was free flowing, challenging that discrepancy, and I did it like that. And I just love, it's so fun. It's so freeing. And I'm having more fun than ever within, I think I've just scratched the surface of everything.
Yeah. Love that, Chris. All right, folks, I've got a few quick takeaways and I'm not going to explain them. I'm just going to run you through basically the names of them. I recommend that you write these down as waypoints for you knowing, are you going down the right roads? Okay. So one thing that a lot of the feedback was from people, and it was obviously from Chris as well, is I had to look inside. Are you getting your prospects to a place where they have to look inside? That is a question for you. Another one is, he said, I've already known that. Key phrase, guys, I already knew. So when we talk about, are you doing some wizardry and are you doing some magic? On some sense, yes, but on another sense, no. You're not telling someone or making someone think something that they didn't already know. And that should be, as Chris said, and I like this word, should be very freeing for you guys. Should make you feel very relaxed about what you've got to do on a sales call. Is they already know what you're trying to pull out of them. You just now need them to actually look inside to express it, to face reality. Okay. Another one is this one I am going to explain a little bit. Emotional expression. So through that call, the big thing that I had to get through with Chris was that he's not really expressing this emotion in any sense of intensity. And perhaps the reason that he doesn't have the drive is the fact that he wasn't that emotionally expressive of how frustrated he was. And as I'm going through the role play, I shouldn't really be doing this, but while I was thinking, okay, I need to train on this. So I was in the role play, but I was also thinking about training on it. It made me realize, why have we had 3 closing calls this week where they've all been pretty heavy unsells? And in a sense, they've all been unsells for roughly the same reason, which is the prospect doesn't really want to connect with their emotions. And I thought, whilst these are all role plays, you are all playing the prospects. And I think you're all projecting this into the prospect that you're playing, and therefore into your real prospects, that The reason you're getting these prospects that you think are not emotionally connecting with what's going on is probably because you're not in your lives as the closer. Does that make sense, folks? You're not feeling, are you really fucking pissed off with being broke? Are you really fucking pissed off that you're not in shape? Are you really angry that you're not taking care of your parents? Or are you like, yeah, it is annoying me a little bit. I'm a little bit frustrated, the words that Chris was saying. And therefore, your reality of what prospects are like is you're getting that all the fucking time from your prospects. You will get prospects that emotionally connect to what's going on if you emotionally connect to what's going on in your life, because everything in your outside reality is a reflection. And so as I was going through that role play, I was like, it's not a coincidence that you guys are all thinking this is what prospects are like. The only way that there can be some unified reality that you're getting across all your prospects is if you're projecting it. It's the only way, guys. It has to be a projection. So I would very much invite you to look into that. Are you truly someone that is connected to your emotions, or are you in a silo from your own emotions? And therefore you're projecting getting a bunch of prospects that are in the same situation, okay? Hypnotic presence, that was from Michael. I like that one. Your presence can be so gravitationally attractive that it's hypnotic to someone. Think that through, guys. Imagine having a presence that's so strong, it's hypnotic. What else have we got here? And with that, Michael said, being all there. Michael said, multiple of these calls, he's seen just how much I'm all there on the role play. Okay. Then we had ethics on how you sell. Very important that your fundamental principle is ethics. We had Jay with calibrated. Focus a lot more on your calibration, guys. Are you walking through life in general? Calibrated. Are you walking through your sales calls? Calibrated. Chris said having fun on his call that he had recently. I didn't quite catch if he said it was today or yesterday, but having fun when you actually implement this. So many salespeople don't make the money they want and they're not enjoying selling. I mean, I could just about justify making a shitload of money and not enjoying selling, but I can't justify hating selling and being poor. How are you winning anything there, guys? Why not? And it's not a coincidence that if you learn a way to sell that you have fun, you will also make more money. To he who has everything, everything shall be given. And to he who has nothing, everything shall be taken away. The broke person is also not having fun. The person that's having fun is also making money. It's all or nothing, guys. Okay? And then the final one from Chris was, you read me. Mastering sales is about reading the prospect, reading the room, reading the environment, not memorizing anything. Reading in real time, being observative, being aware. Okay? So if you keep a note of all of those different points that we went through today, which is most of your feedbacks, those are some of the signposts for you that you're doing this correctly. All right, folks, anybody got anything to add or any questions before we wrap up? Nope. All right, folks, great stuff. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks, Josh.
Very welcome. All right, there you have it, a full scriptless selling discovery. Listen, you are making exactly the amount of money that you're supposed to be making in sales based on how you're showing up, based on how much work you're putting in, and based on if you are working with a mentor that has already accomplished what you want to accomplish. If you are not making the money that you truly want to be making in sales and you are ready to fix that, click the link below this video and join the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. You can work with me directly, you can get on the inside of the community and align yourself with other unicorns that are showing up on a daily basis, that are putting in the massive action and the massive amount of work that it takes to make a massive living in sales. And you can actually have mentorship from someone that has accomplished the life that you want to accomplish as a salesperson and can show you exactly what things you need to start doing so that you can live that reality. If you're ready to make that change, click the link below this video, join the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.